Very good morning, one and all present here on the second day of International Conference on Emerging Need to Strengthen Global Public Health Policies and Sports Sciences 2023. You are welcome today, and today's our keynote speaker is Professor Dr. Ajay Jhasar. He will deliver a very valuable insight of health, being and health things. Sir, I would like to invite to present your keynotes.
A warm good morning to everyone. I think there has to be some slight correction. My topic is not on attitudes; it is on high altitude. Fine. So we shall be talking about the high altitude sickness and its impact on human resource. Now, this particular study, I don't really actually like to only philosophize. I believe in, if I have some concrete evidence, only then I should be talking about anything. And this study, actually, we undertook. One of my scholars, PhD scholars, he took this study. He was a doctor in the Indian Armed Forces and Brigadier Dheer. So I must mention his name also because the work he did it. Okay, 1/5 of the Earth, it is it is mountainous in nature. Okay, we have Himalayas, we have Rockies mountains, we have Andes mountains. If you go to Europe, there's the Jura mountains, and then they have Alps, and so on. Fine. In fact, there are certain countries which are almost wholly mountainous. You have Nepal and Bhutan, but then even Afghanistan is quite a mountainous country. And then, countries in the Central Asia, they are also quite mountainous in nature. And therefore, because there is a concept of the geography of disease, which it becomes relevant over here. The diseases that you find at high altitude, you will not find them at low altitude. And that's why perhaps this kind of a study was required. Now, there are personnel that are, deployed at the high altitudes. I am talking about people who are sent there. They have to be there. I'm not really talking about the tourists and the mountain climbers who have a choice. They can go or they may not go. But then there is a group of people who have no choice at all. They have to be there. These people obviously develop certain diseases which are very, very peculiar to high altitudes. These adverse effects of the high altitude sickness, they need to be understood if we want, to come out with some ways to prevent it, cure it, or, even prevent, the fallout of these illnesses on the human resource management. I have already said that we are talking about the people who are deployed over there, and we are not talking about those who have a choice to go or not to go. We must also remember that it is not only the diseases. As such, the human efficiency, it decreases dramatically when you are at a high altitude. Now, the problems at high altitude that we come across are these. One, it is extremely cold. All of you are aware that the higher you go in the altitude, the colder it is. The second problem is of strong winds. If you go over to these areas, particularly on Himalayas or even other mountains also, the winds are very strong to the extent that even walking over there becomes difficult. There is low oxygen. We know that as we go up, the levels of oxygen come down dramatically, and therefore you start having breathing issues. There is not enough oxygen in your blood, and therefore there is not enough oxygen in your brain and heart, and you start suffering from all kinds of symptoms. uh, High humidity. Okay, it may sound surprising, or maybe it may not sound logical. Why should there be low humidity in the mountains? But what happens is that at high altitude, the rainfall is not there. And that is one reason why, if you go into the Himalayas at the upper reaches, they fall in what we call the rain shadow, and which means there is hardly any rain. And because of that, there is very low humidity. And low humidity not only affects your skin, okay, obviously it affects, but then it also begins to affect your, other physiological measures also. And then, of course, at high altitude, there is high ultraviolet radiation, and which can be extremely harmful for anyone. This is a place called Thangu. I had visited it way back in 1997 because we want the Indian Army. They wanted to install computers, and they were not finding anyone. Fortunately, I came across them and I volunteered. So I went there to install their first computers over there. And my first experience of high altitude was that I realized that, that particular night when I reached there, I just could not sleep. It was not only, the physiological discomfort, it was even, I was feeling very, very uneasy. And that's because, once again, the oxygen was low and there was not enough oxygen in my brain. And that perhaps was playing tricks on me. Now, these are the common illnesses that you come across on the high altitude. These are acute mountain sickness, which all of us have heard about. The second one is high altitude pulmonary edema. The third one is the high altitude cerebral edema. Then the pulmonary arterial hypertension of the high altitude, the thrombotic episodes, and of course, difficult terrain injuries. When you go to that terrain, the chances of you falling down or having some other accidents, that are very many. And it is extremely painful. I mean, I remember once going up, what had happened in the morning at Majitar itself. I had hit my hand on the wall, and it pained for some time. I mean, initially the pain was very high, but then after some time it subsided, and then I forgot about it. But when I reached, at a height of about 10,000 feet, we had gone to Nathula, and then, it was throbbing. It was so absolutely painful, okay, that we had to return quickly because of that. So even if you have a slight injury at that altitude, it can be extremely painful. The high altitude categories, from the human resource perspective, they have been said to be 1500 meter to 3500 meter is high altitude. A very high altitude is 3500 meter to 5500 meters, and above 5500 meters up to say 8500 meters, it is extreme altitudes. High altitude acclimatization. Acclimatization is essentially a process where you allow your body to adapt to new climate, to new temperature, to new humidity, to maybe new, the low oxygen levels, and so on. It could be for mountain acclimatization is required in a desert also. It is required when you go for on the ship, in the sea also, then also acclimatization becomes very, very critical. Fine. And therefore, when you go to the high altitude, it is never advised that you go directly to maybe 15,000 feet or 5,000 meter. Okay, it is not advised. Generally, if you have to go and work over there, it is advised that you go step by step, which means you go to a certain level, say about 1,500 meters. And then day 1 and 2 you take rest. Then day 3 and 4 you walk maybe 3 kilometers or 2 kilometers and walk. I mean, go up maybe 300 meters and then come back. And then of course you take a longer walk on the day 5 and 6, 5 kilometers and so on. And you climb 300 meter with with your equipment. Then if you go to the second, I mean the 3,500 to 5,500, then also the day 1 and 2 you have to walk maybe zero point 0.5 kilometer to 1 to 1.5 kilometer, and then you climb 300 meter with load on the fifth and sixth, fourth and fifth day. This is almost similar when you go to extreme altitudes, which is over and above 5,500 meters. The study, as I said, that this is based on a study. It was conducted on Himalayas. The sample size was 13,224. It was carried out, the data was collected from 2017 to 2020, and incidence of high altitude illness and corresponding attrition was being studied. This was the objective. And of course, human resource issues due to attrition was also taken up, which was the second objective. Now coming to the attrition of manpower before induction into a high altitude. You see, when you are sending people to high altitude, initially also you have to do a medical test, fine? And there you have to identify people who will not survive over there. So suppose we take 100 people are to be sent to high altitude, we do a medical test, and then we find that out of those 100, maybe 9 or 10, they cannot go. I mean, we can predict that they should not be sent over there because they will be falling very, very sick. Fine. So out of 3,224, almost 1,069, they could not be sent up. Because they would have had problem. They already, I mean, their physiological measures were already on a precarious stage. Fine. Then we also looked into, they were taken to high altitudes. I mean, suppose we took 100 initially, then we came down to 91, and then those 91 were sent, for acclimatization. Now, during the stage of acclimatization also, we found that, almost 9% or rather 10%, they also had to be de-inducted. Okay, so even before they could they could be deployed, they actually were, they had to be de-inducted because they developed what you call the high altitude sickness. And the most prominent in this was hypertension, the high altitude hypertension, which accounted for almost 9.06 of all the de-inductees. The cumulative attrition of manpower during the study period, we found that because initially we de-inducted about 8% and then again 11% after the acclimatization schedule, then total comes to about 20%, 20.08%, which means if 100 people are to be deployed, you have to take into account that 20 will have to be de-inducted, which means only 80 will reach there and they will be able to perform their day-to-day duties. Does age play any important role into it? So we tried to study that. We found that in the age group 30 or less, the rejection was about 3.8%, and in the age group above 30, the rejection was almost 9.06%. Sorry, 13.2%. Fine, the average is 9.06. And therefore, we can say that yes, age is a very important factor. Of course, I have not given the statistical analysis over here, but if you do the t-test, you will find that, it is significantly different for ages. And that is one part. And so second part is that the second part is that it is weakly significant. I mean, if you take into consideration, it may look very different, 4% or 13, but statistically, when you calculate it, it is weakly significant. The next question we had was whether BMI has any impact. And we found that again, people with low BMI, the rejection rate was much lower. It was as low as 5.78%, which actually jumped to almost 25% when people with high BMI were taken. And because with age the BMI increases, and therefore we need to understand that when people are getting rejected because of age, it could be because of high BMI. There is a high chance for it, which means BMI is a much more determining factor than perhaps the age, and which means that we have to focus more on BMI. Again, it is statistically significant, but weakly significant. In fact, when we hide the effect of age, even then the BMI shows a significant difference. Okay, this we have already done. Next, we come to what you call the impact of attrition due to high altitude illness on human resource. We used a technique called DMATL, which is essentially decision-making trial and evaluation laboratory. It's one of my favorite techniques. I like it because it is based on what you call the structural modeling, and it analyzes the cause and effect relationships. You may have heard of cause and effect relationship in the context of experiments, but this is different from experiment. An experiment is essentially useful when you are looking at trying to understand the effect of one variable on another variable, and which means you are studying a micro situation. Okay, inside a lab you do it, but in this case what we do is we take a macro situation. Okay, and we again try to take different factors and we try to identify which one is the cause, which one is the effect, and therefore we look into the interdependencies of the relationships. What we found when we did the analysis, we found that what you call the human resource issues. The human resource issues we had taken were maybe the relationship with the boss, accidents, team performance, poor relations in the team, difficult substitution, uncertainty, quality of work, motivation of the people, poor the decision making, how good it is, personal discomfort, failure, high working hours, less leave, personal stress, job delay, family stress, morale, and health. And our study, we found that the factors, which are most affected are health, morale, and family stress. Okay, these are the most affected ones. And very, very interestingly, the ones which are least affected, they are relationship with the boss, accidents, and team performance. Now, this is happening because the group of people we are studying, they are highly trained to work in very difficult circumstances, very uncertain circumstances. So even under so much of stress and health issues, they see to it that the performance of the team does not get affected. Okay, so this is true only for what you would call a professional group of people. If we take ordinary people, I am very sure that you will find that those get affected the most. Now, for the DMATL study, we found that the most important causes which are shown in red color are less number of leave, high working hours, and poor health. You see, if 100 people are sent and only 80 reach over there, and then some of them cannot even work, Okay. Now that means that the pressure of work would be on the remaining people, which means they will be not be getting leave and they will be working for much higher hours. So these are the most important causes, and the most important effects which have been shown in the blue color are the poor quality of work, poor performance, and the motivation. Then we also took the priority metrics, and we found that the personal stress emerges as the most critical factor. It is most critical because stress is also an effect and it is also a cause. So overall value that it has is extremely high. This is followed by poor performance and of course the poor teamwork. And of course, the least affected are uncertainty and less number of leave and high working hours. Because as I said, that the organization that we were studying, it is very highly professional. This is the same thing we have shown in a pictorial form. So you can see that because of attrition, there are less number of leaves available, and people have to work for much longer hours, and which leads to maybe poor health, uncertainty, accidents, poor decisions, and which in turn leads to poor relations, personal discomfort, family stress, and then poor quality of work, low motivation, and poor performance. We also did what you call a factor analysis of all these factors, and we found that these factors they fall within 6 components, and where we find that difficult situation, less number of leaves, high working hours, and personal stress. Sorry. Morale, the motivation, the personal stress, and health, they fall in one category. Difficult substitution, less number of leave, high working hours, they fall in another column. Poor relations and quality fall in the third component, and team performance and personal discomfort, they fall in another component, and poor decision making and uncertainty, they fall in the fifth component, whereas accidents is totally alone in the sixth component. This actually helped us to conceptualize this model. Now, according to this model, the attrition rate leads to poor working conditions. Poor working conditions lead to personal discomfort, which leads to managerial attributes, and which ultimately affects the performance. Now, this model we have taken in a very specific situation, but we have a feeling that if it is applied across, it may be more or less true. Then we tried to study what is the effect of yoga on the attrition rate, and we found that if a 3-month protocol is followed, which means people who are to be inducted to the high altitude areas, if they are actually they are given a training on yoga, they perform yoga for 3 months, and then during the 6 days of stage, suppose you come across people who are not who will be rejected, then what you do is you again give them 2 + 2 more days for acclimatization, and of course you allow them yoga in 30 minutes morning and evening, and the yogic exercises which were prescribed by the experts was pranayam and kapalbhati. And of course, there was a restricted salt diet also. And after that, those who remained hypertensive, they were de-inducted. And we found the results were that out of 4,427, ultimately 4,329, which accounts for almost 98%, they could be inducted. So yes, we can say that yoga definitely has a good impact. You can reduce the attrition through that. We did not try other exercises because other exercises may be difficult to do over there. I have a personal experience. I once played a cricket match at that height of about 15,000 feet. And let me tell you, it's an experience in itself. You cannot run between the wickets because the oxygen is so low that you get tired. If you are bowling, then you don't take more than one step. If you try to take, 20 steps and throw the ball, not possible. And no, so people were either you hit a four or you stand. Even if the ball is not going outside the ground, you don't run over there. So that's why I said we preferred yoga, because other aerobic exercises and others may not be possible to do over there. But yes, when you are before induction, if you take them through aerobics, I'm sure it would be of help. We also, the Nycocard D-dimer measures were also measured, and we found that out of 171 healthy participants, we found that we find those below the cutoff and those above the cutoff of 0.3 mg per liter range, and there were 24 who were above the range. No participant in either D-dimer positive or negative developed any thromboembolic event. Fine? Thrombobiotic event, which means that even if they had higher, okay, they did not really suffer from any problem, because generally it is said that these two are linked. And therefore we concluded that, at least this study, there is absolutely no relationship. You cannot use the Nycocard D-dimer measure for making any prediction. But this is only one study. Maybe if a larger study is conducted, some relationship may be found. So these are the conclusions. I am sticking to 30 minutes. High altitudinal illness lead to high attrition. This attrition affects human resource in multiple ways. Yoga can help in partially overcoming attrition, and Nycocard D-dimer measures do not conclusively predict occurrence of a thrombotic event. Thank you. Any questions, please? Sorry, I went very fast, but yes, please. Yes. Sorry.
How we can recover the problem that when I feel illness, lack of oxygen,
okay,
what will be prescribed for me? Only yoga, or there have any other way?
No, there can be. You see, acclimatization is actually one aspect, is that you acclimatize for that level of oxygen. So that is already there. And obviously, in severe cases, then you are provided oxygen through the oxygen cylinders and so on. Those are over there. But I am not a medical doctor, so I won't be getting into it. Yeah, there could be medicines also, but I am not an expert, so I should not talk about it. Welcome. Yeah. Yes, please.
Sir, if one go to in a high altitude,
yes,
was senseless, then what should we do for getting him back? Actually,
getting him back, I think you need vehicle over there.
Sir, let me interrupt.
Yeah, sure.
For research, it's not going beyond that. The RNS are mentioning, not a medical doctor, but just doing work. Not accept this much. Any more question? There is no any. So thank
okay.
You, sir.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Very good morning, all and all. It was a great pleasure for me to share Professor like Ajay Jha, and very often I got confused whether it's a man of physiology or management. But physiology and blended physiology into the management. But it's multidisciplinary, more and more. And that And in my view, since I am from sports science background, this outcomes the available for us also. Because challenge of attitude for the physical performance in sports performance is a great one. So this shows already dropped uh, for a general person, 20% drop to income. But for the elite performer, that will be 80% or more. They can't perform over here. Finding also correlated, also correlate with our field of. Thank you, sir, once again. And next paper. I invite Mr. Abid Al Mansuri for his paper on yoga as a health reflection. Is it present here?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm present on that.
Please, please proceed with your paper.
Okay, sir. I'm audible to all of you all. Hello, sir. I'm unable to share my slides. Can you please run my slides on your on your projector, sir?
Yeah, Mr. Abid, I'm sharing your slide from
Okay, sir.
here.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Yeah, you can start.
Okay. First of all, good morning to all and everyone. Myself, Abid Ali. I'm a research scholar of University of Allahabad. Today, I'm taking a topic on yoga as a healthy reflection. Before going to the topic, let's we discuss about something background about the yoga, isn't it? Now, what we have heard and what we have learned in physical education in yoga, that yoga is a hello, I'm audible. It's a network issue. Basically, yoga is our sans- taken from Sanskrit, that is our Sanskriti from India. Now, from Sanskrit word, there is a huge word which means to unite, to bind, or to meet. Now, how we meet with this kind of things? For example, from one soul to another soul. This is the a little background about the yoga. Now, we'll come to the first slide. Little bit introduction. Yoga has been the world under discussion of analysis with the past few years. What we are saying that yoga is always a part of discussion in a research topic, isn't it? Now, why? Because it is always curative function for various kinds of disease like psychological stress, obesity, diabetes, hypertension, cardiovascular disease, and respiratory organ sickness. Now that we have already heard and we have already read about the yoga, that in our Hindu dietary we have heard about the Astang Yoga, isn't it? Now the Astang Yoga is contains elements, that is yam, niyam, asan, pranam, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, samadhi. Now what we have to do is, what we are concluding in this paper, that with this kind of this Astang Yoga, we can cure a kind of disease which we are taking in this slides. That first one is stress, anxiety, overweight, obesity, hypertension, diabetes, coronary heart disease. This can be cured by doing performing the yoga exercises, isn't it? Now let's move on to the, so
Limit-
how
limitation slides.
okay sir, before going to limitation, we have to discuss, I am going to discuss about some the elements. Well, can you can you share the previous slide, sir?
Go on.
Yes, sir. The element one slide. Now, what according to Master Patanjali, we have, yes, sir, this one. Yoga consists of 8 steps. We already read yam. That is the first step is yam in the yoga, Ashtanga yoga, which means a self-regulation. We have to be self-regulate. How we have to make our own discipline from inside or outside, isn't it? Now yam has 5 points, that is ahimsa, satya, aste, brahmacharya, apriga. These are the points which are based on yama consists of these 5 points. Ahimsa, that means non-violence. If we have to be self-discipline, we have to be non-violence. The next is satya. If we want to be like self-display, we have to be always speak truth, isn't it? Now the next is aste, that means non-stealing. Always we have to, non-stealing is not always refers to the stealing of something, other things. It is also we can say stealing of ideas, thoughts. It is also a bad thing. Did this although this. Now the next is brahmacharya. Brahmacharya, already we know about this, that control over our sex, isn't it? Now, the next is aprigra. We have to be non-greedy. What we call in Hindi, हमें लालच नहीं करनी चाहिए, isn't it? Now, moving on to next point, the niyam. We know already niyam, that rules and regulation, how we have to perform in the with others, how we have to react, how we have to behave with others, isn't it? Now, after that, we we move on to pranayam, asana and pranayam. Now basically we know about the asana, that body postures, and pranayams we know that control of our respiratory part, isn't it? We'll taking a short, isn't it? There's a less time. All the things are discussed in our paper. We'll have this one. No, sir, please go to the limitation of the study. Hello, are you audible? Now, now we are going to understand what is it. Man, by doing this kind of yoga performing, we can meditate our mental stress, anxiety, improvement in lung. Basically we are understanding that by doing this of kind of yoga, we can perform this, we can improve our these kind of problems, isn't it? Now, however, we understand that yoga is,
Hello, Mr. Abid. Mr. Abid.
Yes, connectivity for for your slides. Since it has happened with technical fault, to consider as present as but try to provide conclusions to professor what kind of how can university or this presentation. On behalf of
Very good morning to everyone. And Sagota Marandi is my thesis student. And on behalf of me, she will present my research work. Thank you for your kind listening.
Ms. Shagota, you have 10 minutes to present your paper.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Janet Shagotamaranti, Department of Physical Education and Sports Science, University of Rajshahi, Bangladesh. I would not take much time. My topic is nutritional and physical fitness status of school children 6 to 15 years among major ethnic and Dalit origin populations living in Rajshahi region, Bangladesh, a cross-sectional study. Here are the contents that I've shown: introduction, aims and objectives, materials, method and materials. There will be results and also discussions and the conclusion and limitations. So I will go in introduction directly. That is the first thing what we think when about the topic. That is what is nutrition. It is the
of difficult study.
the objective was to measure the nutritional status and also the physical fitness of the Dalit regions who were privileged actually, um, and also find the socio-demographic effect of their existence and um, the manipulation of their physical status. Okay. The way we gone over there, that is like collecting the data. We went some areas where these people stay, like in Vachir division, um, in villages and also in the rural and urban areas. And our data was like 247 population people, and also we maintained our ethical standards, and we took the anthropometric indicators by measuring their physical fitness and nutritional health, and also we measured the socio-demographic effects and their eating habits and sleeping habits, and also we took the statistical analysis. I mean, we analyzed the statistics. Here's the materials and some snapshots we took on that time. So finally, I come to the result. There were a lot of tables in my work, so I just gave some specific tables over here of the thing that is. Which were actually, sorry, I forgot the word. There were all type of childrens, like there were, and also we just took dietary habits and sleeping habits also, and where we had some specific questions about them, and both were closed and open-ended questions. The portion of nutritional status, I gave the anthropometric measurement over there. The 14 and 15 years old boys actually, and I'm sorry. From above the diagram,
Okay, just leave it. I will change it. Okay. On which slide you want?
Before.
Which one?
Yes. Not that one. After this.
Next
one.
Next.
Yes.
You don't touch anything.
Yes, I didn't touch anything. Before that. This one. Yes. Okay. Comparing the both diagrams, we found that the Shantal and Munda ethnic groups were better from all of this, and I forgot to say that we just got 5 populations over there. That was Shantal, Munda, Orao, Paharia, and Horijan community, and the most of them were Shantal people, and there's some lackings to taking the data because we didn't found a proper population of each of the children. And from there, we also found the Paharia. There are fewer, but they were normal actually. And also the boys were underweight. We took it by the BMI, and the girls were normal. The oral community for 14 to 15 years old, we didn't found oral populations for the age group 14 to 15 years old, and there were better position were Shantal people. Next. Now there starts the physical fitness portion, and we took five type of physical fitness. The front one. Okay, I should. Okay. Oh, we measured five things, that was sit and reach, and sit up and push up, and a 10-meter dash, and also um, the standing broad jump, which measured some specific words about the body. Um, and here are the results of 6 to 7 years old children. Sorry, next. So next. Five different tests we conducted. We found there the five populations. Each children were better in four different tests, but they were sit and reach, sit up, push up, and standing broad jump, but they were not good in 10-meter dash. Next. This is the portion of girls physical fitness measurement. Okay. Also the same, the 6 to 7 years old girls were normal in four portions, same as boys, and they were not good in 10-meter dash. Here are the eating habits. So the thing we found that girls were aware of eating twice in a day, and also they didn't took. They took less junk foods from and comparing the boys, and they also take a tiffin in a day. Not most of the boys, but less of them. Here are the minor disease portion, and boys are less susceptible than the girls. We're in the discussion. There are 45 different indigenous people in Bangladesh, and we just got 5 of them, and they were available in Rajshahi division. And we found that the major thing that is actually called the result, which is boys are better in physical fitness and girls are better in nutritional status. In our conclusion, we found that family income is a major thing, the key thing, and the boys from age group to 10 to 11 years, they were better, and girls Paharia girls were better. For working, conducting my thesis work, we had some problem that we didn't have thank you. Yeah, if you have
question, you're welcome. No question.
thank you.
Since this is my last presentation of my session, let me first few observations. That is, uh, probably it was first presentation, and almost she has performed with several levels of confidence. And here in the item, you have mentioned it's a cross-sectional study. Cross-sectional study is not a good study, but don't we have done one. And you have compared different communities of outside region. Whenever you compare it, you should take standard one. That means majority or the normal population. Yes, majority could be the Bengalis. So there should be a group of Bengalis also. So thank you all for your patience and hearing and cooperation. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Dr. Sabil Chanda sir, for your valuable time to chair the session. And thank you very much, sir. Now, I would like to invite Professor Nasim Raja sir to chair the next session. Nasim Raja sir. Because the time was given for the next session is 10:50. It is starting earlier, so I would like to request few Bangladesh delegate and participants. Those names are not in the presenters list. They should start their presentation one by one so that they can finish it by 10:50. Right, sir? It is now your call to call the presenter, sir. I will hand over to the list of participants. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Organizing Secretary. Good morning, everybody. Today we are passing day 2 of the 3 days seminar. Day 2, session 2. That is study session. There. Here I am call upon to Sardar Ashikur Rahman. Director of Global Science and Technology.
there are two.
Good morning, our chairperson, co-chairperson, uh, Assalamu alaikum, Adab, Namaskar, and others, uh, special guest. Welcome to my presentation. I am MD Shardar Shudur Rahman from Jashore University of Science and Technology, Jashore, Bangladesh. My presentation topic name is Physical Growth, Nature of Bangladesh Rural Boys. Purpose of the study to analyze the physical growth nature of Bangladeshi rural boys. Methodology, a total of 19 subjects, 9 to 11 years of school boys equally distributed from age 9, 10 and 11 were selected as subject for the present study. They are rural areas and mostly from lower to middle income group of families. Uh, criterion measures body weight, body height, arm length, leg length, and sitting height were the measuring criteria of present study. Equipment and tools. Digital weighing machines. It was found to uh, body weight in kg. Body height in mean values of body height. The lowest number of mean value is 9 years old, and the second lowest is 10 years old, and the third highest is 11 years old. Mean value of body weight in kg. The first lowest is 9 years old, the second lowest is 10 years old, and the highest is 11 years old. Mean values of arm length. The mean values of arm length is subject from different group have been shown. The mean value of arm length in centimeter, the lowest number is 9 years old and second lowest is 10 years old and highest is 11 years old. Leg length. The mean value of leg length is the subject of different group have shown. The mean value of leg length in centimeter, the first lowest is 9 years old, the second lowest is 10 years old, and the highest is 11 years old. Sitting height, it also mean values of sitting height in centimeter. Presentation and
Sir, I would like to interrupt because it is. लाइट गया था ना.
the sitting height is 9 and 10 years old is also significant, but 10 to 11 years old is not significant. Result, there was significant in body height. Body height is significant. 9 to 10 years old is significant. 10 to 11 years is not significant. Body height, body weight, it also significant. 9 to 10 years, and 10 to 11 years is not significant. But arm length, 9 to 10 years old body boys, but the increase in arm length for 10 to 11 years boys was not significant. But leg length, it's both are significant. 9 to 10 years old boys and 10 to 11 years old boys. There was not significant increase in sitting height for 9 to 10 years boys, but the increase in sitting height for 10 to 11 years boys was significant. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ashik Rahman. Next. Anubhav Trivedi. I would like to request Anubhav Trivedi to present his paper.
Second one. Okay. So, may I start, sir? Thank you, everyone. I would not take much of your time, so I'm skipping my introduction and starting my presentation. My presentation topic is changes in power and strength. Changes in power and strength and endurance in progression of age from 6 to 8 years old boys. I am Anubhav Trivedi. I am from University of Joshua University of Science and Technology from Bangladesh. Thank you. Power and strength. Power and strength and endurance. All of these are very important for motor fitness. What is this power? Power is basically a combination of strength and speed. And as you can understand, strength endurance is combination of endurance and strength. So let us not give much of time to here. Let us come to the study. The result of this study. The significance of the study. The result would provide an estimate of leg power. The result would provide an estimate of leg power for boys from 6 to 8 years old, and the result would also provide an estimate of power for abdominal strength for 6 to 8 years old boys. This result would be very important for future researchers. The methodology subjects. We have taken 90 subjects. All of their ages are from 6 to 8 years old. And absolutely, as you can understand from my topic, we are taking power and strength endurance for presenting. And thus for the study, we are taking very simple steps from standing broad jumps and sit-ups for 6 to 8 years old boys. As you can see here, we can easily see their standing broad jump, and this is a sit-up position we are using. Analysis of data. Analyzed using appropriate statistical technique. Mean was calculated as the measure of central tendency. Standard deviation was calculated as the measure of variability. Significance of difference between two means was calculated using t-test.
As you can see from the table, it is easily shown from 6 to 7 years old when they are using sit-ups for abdominal strength, the number is 8. But when the 6 to 8 years old, when they are sit-ups for abdominal strength, the number is significantly higher. As from 7 to 8 years old, the number is more higher. As in the standing broad jump, which is calculated in centimeters, the 6 to 7 years olds are 83.3 plus minus 27.1. As you can see, the last one is significantly higher than the first one. As you can see in the table, as you can see, this is a stable. As you can see, the results are, most of them are significant. I am skipping the part and let's talk about the t-value. T-value is 4.59, which is significant. Another 6 to 8 years old boys, our result is 5.93, which is also very significant. And 7 to 8 years old, which is 1.50, which is non-significant. But as you can see from the another slide, that the result is 6.31, which is significant, 13.86, which is also significant, and 3.59, which is also significant. T value is 0.05 for degree of freedom. Level is 1.67. On the basis of the statistical analysis of following results, the leg power as measured by standing broad jump test increased significantly for 6 to 7 years old boys, and the abdominal strength for sit-ups from 6 to 7 years and 7 to 8 years old are significantly higher than the rest of them. The conclusion is the leg power of boys increases age to age from 6 to 8 years, and the abdominal and muscular strength of boys increases from 6 to 7 to 8 years. The basic endurance of boys increases from 6, 7, and 8 years. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, sir. Sir, thank you. It's a very good question, and I was confused at first also. But as you can see, power. As you can see, we test that thing, but for the results, we did not appreciate that they can do the power exercises properly because of their age. So I thought that they cannot be doing that for their age, so I didn't give them the explosiveness they have, because if you develop your nature to explosiveness. Thank you. Thank you.
Most probably Ashkur Rahman and Subhath last time presenting paper outside. So in the class, as part of organizing secretary, now it is time to take feedback on the one project. Thank you. Thank you for the time. Next, Sir Murtuza Hussain and Rafi from Delhi University.
A warm good morning to all of you, respected chairperson, and my dear friends and inspiring scholars. Today I'm going to present on the topic my My research paper is Gait as an Indicator of General Mental Health in Elderly. Now, this is a mini review. In this review, this is not an original work, you should know. I have compiled a few papers that had already been published, and in the best possible way, I tried to summarize the findings, and I'll be presenting that to you. So I hope you know what gait is. Gait is basically a manner of ambulation. It's how we walk in our day-to-day environment. But what gait analysts do, they use modern technology to study gait, and they go into very minute details. And after doing that, they come to conclusions, and they try to use those data in order to find solutions to problems, to health problems, to musculoskeletal problems, and like that. So, few minutes I would like to talk on introduction. We have more than 300 muscles in our body. Uh, okay. Okay, this will be my content. Gait. I'll be talking on the discussion. I may skip a few slides due to lack of time. In the end, I will tell you about the key takeaways from my presentation and then the conclusion. So we have more than 300 muscles in our body that pull on different bones, and when that happens, we create a unique feature of great gait or walking happens, and that's how we recognize each individual. Sometimes you may think that, okay, you may find a person and you'll find that, okay, this person, I know this person because he walks a certain way. I will give you an analogy. There's a piano analogy. So there are so many different ways you can play a piano, and like that you can fire these 300 muscles in our body, and they will create very unique features. So literature tells us that gait varies according to gender. There are subtle differences there. Gait varies according to race. There may be a certain race, and they may have particular features in their walking, and also according to age. Now, in the same individual, it may also vary. Now, you may be thinking how. So, for example, some person goes through an injury, let's say ACL injury, and later on you'll find that he may have recovered completely, but there will be some changes in his gait pattern due to some damage. Also, aging. So, how you walk today, you will not be walking like if we see your gait pattern after 5 or 10 years, it may not be same because we continue to age. And as we go through adulthood, as we go into our go into our elderly life, our gait starts to break down. So the muscles that were once strong will not be that strong, and you will see some differences there. So that's why the topic. That's why my title says "Gait as an indicator of general mental health in elderly." It's for elderly population. I have delimited my study. Okay, next. I'll go to my objective of the study. The purpose of my study was to review the studies that have happened so far and summarize their findings. So, GATE has been there. GATE, this is an area of study in biomechanics. It has been there for, since a while, maybe 1960. But recently, some research has tried to connect, make it multidisciplinary. They're going into mental health. They say that there's a relation between mental health and your walking pattern. I went through almost 15 studies, so there are some here. So I'll go to key takeaways from my studies. Okay. So one studying, most of the studies were of longitudinal nature. So this is what I got from that. The people that have higher depressive symptoms, they tend to have shorter step length. So they walk with short step length. They do not take those enough length of walking. They shorter their step length so that they get right balance, which has been compromised due to some motor ability dysfunction. They also have worse performance on swing time variability. It means that when they swing their swing leg, there's a lot of variability. There's a lot of variability there. Also, stance time variability. Worse performance on stance time. That means they spend a lot of time on their stance. Like when their foot is connected to the ground, they spend a lot of time there in order to get the right balance. Step length asymmetry is there. If you have higher length asymmetry, so you are more likely associated with depressive symptoms there. Now I have few conclusions here. The literature that I studied. Okay, there is enough literature that suggests that that elderly people who are above 60 years of age, they have deviant gait patterns. Means it's not exactly normal. There are some differences there. And the most variables that were hit, there is pace, means how you control your pace, fast or slow. There are so many variables there. It has been mostly hit. Also your postural control, how you handle your posture while you're walking. Now I don't know the future of how these studies will be used, but definitely there's a associative relationship between gait and mental health problems, and maybe in future you'll see that psychiatrists use gait to objectively confirm a mental health problem. So this is my conclusion. These are my references. If you have any questions regarding my presentation, please.
No question. After post this session, there will be another problem. Yes. Mohammed Malik and Hamidur Rahman. Now it is time to take tea.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Anyways,
खत्म हो गया ना?
আমার তো মুখই ঢাকা গেছে। টি ব্রেকের সময় ছবি তুলতেছি। এদিকে এটা তো অনেক উঁচু। একটা শার্ট পরা ছবি। আমার কথা শোনা যাচ্ছে? দেখেন কি প্রফেসর নাসিম রেজাজ। সামনের দিকে কি দেখাবো? সব তো দেখা যায়।
Third session, third session. निकल चुकी है. No problem, sir.
Above 2.
Too fast, then
Let me announce the names. The next presenters are Farhana Akhtar Bobby, Sharif Al Mahatia, Shabir Ahmad Osmani, Muhammad Masood Rana, Muhammad Asifur Rahman, Jinet Sagan, Muhammad Abu Kuwar, Murtaza, and Muhammad Tamidur Rahman. Please be ready with your PPT and all.
there is two PPTs, right? That's it.
It is time to start post the session, scientific session. Before we make, I have announced that there will be presented 4 more papers, but I have here I see that there are more seats, but 10 more papers will be presented in this session. So be fast, everybody. Help us cover within the time limitation. Now, I would like to request Farzana Akhtar Bobby present her paper.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, everyone. Myself, Farjana Akhtar Bobby, student of MSc from Joshua University of Science and Technology. Today, I'll be presenting a study on Yo-Yo Intermediate Recovery Test Level 1 between divisional women cricket players and senior women's cricket players from PCA. In early age of cricket, even a few years ago, endurance was a factor which was frequently looked over. But with time, it is understood that how crucial it is. Basically, in cricket format like ODI and Test. So before analyzing this study, we have selected Yo-Yo test, Yo-Yo Intermediate Recovery Test Level 1, which is normally used to utilize or evaluate the performance of aerobic fit capacity of athletes and their ability to recover from high intensity exercise. So here the purpose has been ready based on scientific research. The purpose of the study was planned to analyze the Yo-Yo Intermediate Recovery Test Level 1 between the divisional women cricket players and senior women's cricket players. So here we have hypothesized that senior women's cricket player would have better performance in Yo-Yo test than divisional women cricket players of Bangladesh. For this study, we have selected a total of 50 women cricket players, where 25 women cricket players were selected from senior women's cricketers from Punjab Cricket Association, and remaining 25 cricketers were selected from different division of Bangladesh. Here we have selected endurance test as a criterion measure, which was assessed by Yo-Yo Intermediate Recovery Test Level 1. We have used as equipment, you can see here that marking cones, measuring tape, Yo-Yo test audio, CD MP3, CD player, and performance recording sheet. For statistical analysis, we have used SPSS software version 26, and we have calculated mean and standard deviation and also t value to analyze the performance, where mean values were computed for comparison of their performance level, and t value was calculated for their significance difference of the performance. Here we have analyzed their, the normality of data. That table has showed us that their data were normally distributed. Table 2 showed that the mean values of PCA, means senior women's cricket players of Punjab Cricket Association, were 1233.6 meter, where divisional women cricket players mean values were 857.6 meter, and the T value of 4.63 were higher than their table value 2.003 for degree of freedom 48 at significance level 0.05. Here is the graphical representation of that value. So from the findings of the study, we can see that there is a significant difference among the performance. So averagely, you can see Punjab Cricket Association's players performed 300 meter, ran 300 meter further than divisional women cricket players of Bangladesh, and we just assume that there are several reasons for this improvement of Punjab cricketers, that they are more experienced and trained than Bangladesh cricketers. In conclusion, we can say that this test, Yo-Yo Intermediate Recovery Test, can be used as reliable field-based fitness test for differentiate their performance level, and the results as that already we have seen on the table that Punjab Cricket Association's players performed greater than the Bangladesh women cricket players. And Bangladesh women cricket players need to practice more, and they need to play more game than before, I think. That's the references. Thank you.
I have a question. Please.
Total number 50. 25. 25. But what about separate will test? But for separate will test, 0.05 it as yeah. Separate, according to separate will test, I'm saying that because separate will test is considered as because I'm considering separate will test as for small sample. Yes, less than 2000, even less than 50. Uh, yes.
Unless otherwise you have established relationship in your study.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Now, I would like to request Mr. Hamidur Rahman, Professor, Department of Physical Education and Sports Science, University of Science and Technology.
Okay, respected chairs, distinguished guests, faculties, and dear scholar and students, very good morning. Myself, Hamidur Rahman, Assistant Professor, Department of Physical Education and Sports Science, Joshua Science and Technology University, and now I am pursuing my PhD in Delhi University. So today I am presenting my paper. My paper topic is compare the similarity index between Urkund and authentic plagiarism software. So overview my presentation, that is what is plagiarism. That plagiarism software, we discuss about the two plagiarism software, that is Urkund and authenticated. And now the compare the similarity index between Urkund and authenticated, and finally the conclusion. So plagiarism is the common form of scientific misconduct. Now we are here, all are the students are MSc, BSc, research scholar, faculty. So you should know the plagiarism, and when you submit your master's thesis or PhD thesis, you must check the plagiarism under your institution. So now the plagiarism is the very burning issue. So according to the plagiarism organizations, that says the using someone else's work and claiming it's as your own words. That means copying some others' ideas and words without giving credit or failing the quotation or quotation marks, that is plagiarism. So or providing incorporate informations about the quotations, alternative or changing the words, or copying any ideas or phrases from any sources without credit the main author, that is plagiarism. So now we previously we say the plagiarism software. Today I discuss about the only two software, that is Urkund and authenticated. And we know the there are many there are two form of plagiarism software, that is paid plagiarism software and that is unpaid, that is free of cost paid plagiarism software. But I think the free of cost plagiarism software's reliability is validity is not up to mark. So that's why when we use our manuscript or PhD thesis, must check the paid software. So here we discuss about the two Urkund and authenticate plagiarism software. So Urkund is now going to name change is original, and original is the similarity detection solution that helps identity plagiarism by combining text matching within style analysis. And we you know the Indians UGC and Indian all institute or university use the Urkund or original plagiarism software. When you studying the masters or PhD in India and you submit your thesis, you must check the plagiarism software and your plagiarism report within 10 your similarity index. That's why that's time you submit your thesis. So now now the software is very much important. Another is authenticated. Authenticated is the plagiarism or content similarity detection software. Authentic compare the submission documents, analyze against World Wide Web, aims to world largest scholarly comparison database and to helps authors published in the organization share content in the documents original and sources correctly. This software is provide intellectual property productions that I am say that when you will be copy the any other's idea, that's plagiarism software is catch this similarity. Similarity, that's the documents the authenticate provide intellectual property protection as well as the document comparison. So now the purpose of my study, the similarity index between Urkun and authenticated. How? Last year, I have complete my coursework in Delhi University. That time, Delhi University, when we present the any PPT and submit the any assignment of the documents, the DU Department of Physical Education check the documents before submitting our assignment and PPT. That's Urkun software. So here we select the 10 documents. We see the Urkun plagiarism software. Here is the 10 my PPTs or assignment. That the plagiarism report is Urkun plagiarism report is 2%. That is RP. That is research and publication ethics assignment 2%. The another fourth column is authenticated. First, I check the same documents in original or Urkun plagiarism software. Then again, I check the same documents, the authenticated software. Then I compare which software is better or which software is detect more similarities. So we see the RP assignment Urkun find the 2% and authentic find 6%. Here we say the percentage of my similarity index of my assignment and PPTs. Now I'm compare the Urkun and authentic plagiarism similarities percentage. That I compare paired sample t test. Here we see the t is 1.76. That is below our table value. So the two software similarities are not significant, but we see the similarity index in mean value. The authenticate mean value is 10%, and Urkun similarities index is 7.2%. So according to mean value, the Urkun plagiarism software is more find out the similarity as per compared to the Urkun software. So my suggestion, I already told the Urkun or original is the only purchase the institution, but here the authenticated purchase institution also purchase the individual. So here the two types of purchasing methods have the individual and group or 3 credit method. We see the individual package for submission of single manuscript 25,000 word or less goes to $100. So you check your manuscript 25,000 words, you should pay $100. And 3 credits package, there are 75,000 words, you must pay the $300. So it's maybe expensive, but it's the help to researcher before submitting your institution or before submitting your PhD documents in institution, so you can check your plagiarism. So now the plagiarism is very burning issue, because now the world is online. When you submit your any manuscript, we all know the manuscript is journal manuscript checked by such kind of plagiarism software. So when we should write down our manuscript or write down our thesis, should provide the proper citation, proper credit when we get the ideas and others. So finally, conclusions. Every plagiarism software has its own set of benefits and drawback. However, no software can be detect 100% plagiarism software because software is the machine. So software not identified any ideas or such as. So that's some limitation are there. So here is my reference, and thank you.
Have any question? Please, madam.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Sometimes the plagiarism we can refer to the other projects to certain level. What percentage we can refer, and what will be the punishable act for this?
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. As per Indian UGC or Indian university norms, you should less than 10%. Below 10%, you submit your PhD thesis in the institutions. That's your on questions answer. The below 10%, तभी अपने वो right. And another question is punishment. That is another issue. And I think I complete last year my coursework. That times I will be present another topic. Another topic is the punishment. So UGC already prescribed, Indian UGC, Indian already prescribed below up to 10% punishments are prescribed by the Indian UGC. Madam, such kind of punishment that your down your promotions. Okay. Yes. Okay, thank you, sir. I already said here the 10 documents I submit our coursework, and finally I have collect the Urkun documents, the others persons, and that's words that file up to I'm check the authenticated because authenticated plagiarism software क्या बोलते हैं? Yes, yes. So thank you.
Thank you, Abdul Rahman and Sarwajam for your insights. Now, I would like to request Mohammad Masood Rana to present his research work. Masood Rana. Your time is 7 minutes only.
This is next. Status.
Next presenter, Arifur Rahman.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Chair and honorable teachers and delegates. I'm Masud Rana from Rajshahi University, Department of Physical Education and Sports Science, Bangladesh. Today, my presentation topic is nutritional and physical fitness status of science faculty students at Rajshahi University, Rajshahi, Bangladesh. It's a cross-sectional study. That means we try to find out different we gone for different findings at a time. Outline of our study is here to present introduction, aims and objectives, statistical analysis, method and materials, results discussion, conclusion, and this introduction. Aims of the study is to find out the nutritional and physical fitness status of Rajshahi University students, science faculty students. The objective of our study is to find out the target subjects, their nutritional status, their physical fitness, their physical and mental health condition, the interest of extra physical activity, and eating habit, the influence of nutritional status on physical fitness, the influence of a socio-economical status on their physical fitness and nutrition, the relationship between body fat percentage. Those is kept here because of this not focusing of this presentation. There are 300 participants participated in this study. Among them, 217 were male and 87 was or female. There is some materials we have used, that stadiometers, blood pressure monitor machine, pulse oximeter, sit and reach box with 38 inches. Harvard step test we measured. We measure their skin fold caliper. Those are not shown here. Some statistical analysis were calculated for our research work that we tested the relationship of our objectivity through Sky-Course test, student t-test with two-tailed, standard deviations, and some other parameters. And here is the normality range was below than 0.05%. The results and discussion we have found of the study subjects. We measured their BMI and found female participants were better compared to the male participants. There are 5 parameters of BMI according to the South Asian regional WHO, and it's shown that there are non-significant difference among male and female participants. This is a graphical representation. The nutritional status of the participants found that upper socio-economical group were greater compared to the lower socio-economical group in percentage, and the prevalence of malnutrition was higher in lower socio-economical group. This is the graphical representation. Educational background is a influential fact of nutritional status, and that's why it's measured in this study. And we found that the nutritional status was highly poor of the educational background of the family members who earns, and it's lowest for the educational background people who are study at not more than GSC level, and the resting heart rate were poor in PSC level. Most of the cases, the obesity were found in the postgraduate and graduate level economical background peoples. Physical fitness status of the participants for different age and sex groups according to their health-related fitness variables were observed, and it's found that the male participants were better in physical fitness condition in most physical fitness parameters like cardiovascular endurance, upper arm strength, abdominal strength, and endurance compared to the female students. But in lower limb strength and power, female students were at better condition than the other participants. In flexibility test, male and female students were almost same in poorness. This is the graphical presentation of the table 5. We observed the physical fitness of the study subjects on their socio-economical background, and as we have taken most of the students from lower socio-economical background according to World Bank standards. Here is all the parameters are poor in lower socio-economical background compared to the lower economical background and upper socio-economical background. This is the poorness of physical fitness among the socio-economical background status. The poor physical fitness condition were measured among the participants and showed that the non-resident male and resident female students were compared to were better compared to the resident male and non-resident female students in their physical fitness variables. This is the graphical presentation of table 7. This is the discussion, and according to the findings of Mehmet B. et al. In 2019, the BMI and the comparatively poor BMI were comparatively poor in male and better in female. In most of the cases, female were found better in flexibility and other physical fitness variables. The lower middle socio-economical background were at health risk. The resident students were better in nutritional status, but they are leading a lazy life. That's why their physical fitness status were comparatively poor. In conclusion, eating habit and education and socio-economical background has a great influence in their physical fitness and nutritional status. And female participants were better in body mass index, as I said previously, compared to the male students. Recommendation is further studies should be conducted by Authority of Health Ministry and research to develop norms for Bangladeshi peoples to conduct further study on this perspective. Some limitations were in our findings. We have a lacking of times and instruments and fundings. Thank you.
Thank you for your nice presentation. Please, Emily. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, I would like to request Dr. Shailendra Pratap Singh. It's an online presentation. Dr. Shailendra Prasad Singh, please.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. This is Dr. Shailendra Pratap Singh from Department of Sports Bioscience. Central University of Rajasthan. I would like to present the obesity and metabolic syndrome with reference to diabetes and cardiovascular disease. Can you, my slides are visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Thank you. So, first I would like to say why metabolic syndrome or obesity. Metabolic syndrome is a cluster of risk factors that occurs together, increasing your chance of insulin resistant and cardiovascular disease. My slides are visible?
Not now, sir. Please share your screen.
Yeah, I'm sharing. I don't know why.
Initially it was there, but now it is not there.
Okay. Let me pull it up.
Share your whole screen. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Great. Thank you. So the metabolic syndrome is a risk factor that occurs together, increasing your risk of heart disease, cardiovascular disease, and insulin resistant. By obesity and metabolic syndrome, approximately 40 to 46% of the world's adult population has the cluster of risk factor, and this risk factor, the prevalence of metabolic syndrome in Indian population is around 56%. If you look the trend, the women is outnumbered than men, and men and women both are suffering from this metabolic syndrome. Women are outnumbered than men, and as the age increases, the people who are getting this kind of symptoms actually they are increasing. So it's affecting with age. If you look this trend, we actually started from here and slowly we reach here. So it's a bus situation. What obesity and metabolic syndrome brings? It brings cardiovascular disease, it brings diabetes mellitus, it brings Parkinson's disease, sleep apnea, NAFLD, osteoarthritis, hypertension, gallbladder disease, cancer, and Alzheimer's disease. Who should be considered as a metabolic syndrome people? The people who are having BMI more than 30, triglyceride greater than 150 mg per deciliter, blood pressure greater than 130 over 85 mm per hg, fasting blood glucose greater than 110 mg per deciliter, high density lipoprotein less than 40 mg per deciliter, low density lipoprotein is greater than 130 mg per deciliter, and increased cholesterol and blood pressure. They can be considered as a people who are having the metabolic syndrome. So my objective is the role of BRD7 in the regulation of metabolic syndrome, diabetes and cardio. What is BRD7? This is bromodomain containing protein 7. Actually it's transcriptional regulator, transcriptional coactivator, which need to bind with the transcriptional factor and regulate the transcription. This is actually 74 kDa protein, and in humans it's encoded by the BRD7 gene. So this is very important protein. To see the effect of this particular protein, actually I overexpress the adipocyte specific BRD7. Adipocyte specific means this is tissue specific. I used adiponectin promoter, and I found that induction of this actually improved the metabolic syndrome. Here we can see this is the lean mice which was fed with the chow diet, normal diet. This is the high fat diet mice feed with the high fat, 60% of fat up to 24 weeks. And when we overexpress this gene, actually this is significantly reduce the final body weight. The blood sugar, fasting blood sugar also reduce. Oxygen consumption improves. You might have seen the people they are very obese. they are actually getting some breathing problem. So oxygen consumption reduced in those people. So here the mice actually, which was feed on high fat diet, up to 24 weeks actually reduced the oxygen consumption. But adipocyte specific BRD7 improved the oxygen consumption. Blood glucose also improved a lot. The red line is showing the mice which is having high fat diet. Actually, it develops the fasting blood glucose as well as kind of diabetes situation. And after that, we checked the muscular contraction in the different arteries. In aorta, particularly aorta, we have seen that the relaxation and contraction is very static in the high fat diet feed mice. But the mice which was on genetically modified mice, adipocyte specific BRDS7, actually is kind of neutralizing. The reason is that the people who are having metabolic syndrome or obesity, their blood vessel arteries develop the rigidity, or they don't have elasticity. Elasticity is because of a protein which is called elastin. So that has gone in those mice. Here we can see that when we put mice on high fat diet, actually they develop a metabolic syndrome and they become huge. When we induce or genetically modified these mice by the induction of BRDM7, significantly they lost their weight, and they are not getting symptoms of metabolic syndrome. So if you look these here, when people are having obesity or metabolic syndrome, the pericardial adipose tissue deposit around the pericardium, and it is sending the signals or inflammatory markers to the pericardium, then myocardium, then endocardium of the heart. Here we can see they are developing the acute pericarditis also, means the inflammation is going from pericardium to epicardium and myocardium. And you might have heard that people who are having this kind of symptom, they are very susceptible for developing the myocardiac arrest. Here you can see the heart is pumping. When you have this kind of adipose tissue of fat deposit around the pericardium, it's putting lots of pressure on pericardium to contract and relax. When I was doing surgery to block the kidney arteries, to giving the ischemia to the mice, I have seen this DBDB mice, actually that is embedded, the kidney of DBDB mice is embedded in fat pool. You can see the perirenal adipose tissue. This is very dangerous for kidney also. Actually kidney get squeezed inside the fat pool and putting mechanical as well as inflammatory pressure on that. So then I looked the effect. I have seen that in the nucleus, the lots of BRD7 is there in lean mice. When we treated with high fat diet, the red color has gone, meaning the high fat diet or the mice which were suffering from metabolic syndrome, they have less expression of BRDM7. When we overexpress adipocyte specific, it's improving the function of adipocyte. So here you can see the HE staining we did, but this is wild-type mice, this is high fat mice, and this is mice which were on adipocyte specific BRDM7. So you see the high fat diet fat mice adipocyte become bigger, they develop the hypertrophy, as well as they are releasing the inflammatory markers like TNF alpha, interleukin 1 beta, interleukin 6, and it's going to the blood circulation, it's going to the other parts of the body like heart also. It's causing problem. So how BRDM7 BRD7 actually improving the things? Actually BRD7 improving the expression of uncoupling protein and causing uncoupling of the mitochondrial complex, which is actually dissipating the energy instead of synthesizing more and more energy. So to show the beneficial effect of BRD7, I put this slide which is perfectly showing the effect of BRD7. So when we are taking the food, our beta cells of pancreas actually releasing more and more glucose in the extracellular medium, which is releasing the when we are taking the food, the beta cells of pancreas actually releasing the insulin, because the more and more extracellular medium glucose is there. That insulin is binding with the insulin receptor, which is getting autophosphorylated, and autophosphorylation of this insulin receptor as tyrosine 473 position actually activate or phosphorylate PI3 kinase pathway by the phosphorylation of AKT and inhibition of GSK3 beta at serine, and AKT binding substrate phosphorylation at threonine 642 position. What is doing? Actually it's regulating the basolateral dilation of the GLUT4, and GLUT4 goes to the basolateral side of the membrane. More and more glucose coming inside the intracellular medium and going for the further processing in the cytoplasm as well as in the mitochondria. So here we can see the GLUT4 recruitment normally was low. When we put the BRD7, actually it's activating the AMPK, PRDM16, as well as most importantly PI3 kinase pathway, which is mechanism of this and by the innovation of GSK3 beta at serine 9. So induction of BRD7 actually recruiting more and more GLUT4 to the basolateral site, and more glucose comes into the intracellular medium instead of extracellular medium. When we have more and more free fatty acid because of obesity or some other factors, actually what is happening, it is regulating, or I can say producing lots of free fatty acids, and production of free fatty acid actually is doing the receptor insulin receptor resistance. Because of this insulin receptor resistance, the insulin cannot bind with the receptor. So all those things means recruitment of GLUT4 and other parameter, activation of PI3 kinase pathway, AKT binding substrate 160, AMPK, PIDM16 is reducing in the condition of more and more free fatty acid. And you can see here more and more glucose is roaming in the extracellular medium, and insulin is roaming into extracellular medium, but insulin cannot bind because this receptor now develop the resistance. So this is the condition when people, because of obesity or metabolic syndrome, they are developing the diabetes. They are having insulin, they are having glucose, they are having all the receptor, but insulin receptor actually develop resistance which cannot bind the insulin, and people develop the rest. So what is the mechanism? Actually, I am still working on this objective. So how BRD7 is working? Actually, it's activating the PI3 kinase pathway, and finally recruiting the other protein like insulin receptors and inhibiting the mTOR pathway. And mTOR is very much high in the obesity or metabolic syndrome. So this is the mechanism I am still working on, and I am thinking to synthesize some pharmacological activators, so then I can give instead of genetic manipulation of the mice or making the genetically modified mice. So what is the conclusion of this presentation? Adiposity, diabetes or obesity actually inactivate BRDS7 by reducing or down regulating the UCP1. These are the mitochondrial protein, PRDM16 and mitofusion related protein 2, which is causing the insulin resistant, and it reduces O2 consumption, causing vascular dysfunction and causing the cardiomyopathy. The question comes how? Because the adiposity, diabetes or obesity actually producing more and more white adipocyte, which is having high lipid droplet, or droplet size is very high, and number of mitochondria is very low. When we injected the BRD7 in the mice, it activated PGC1 alpha in upregulation of some thermogenic genes like UCP1, PRDM16 and mitochondrial dynamics protein, and causing the insulin sensitivity, which actually improved the O2 consumption and causing heart function improve. How it's doing? By making the brown adipose tissue, and there is one step coming in between the white adipocyte and brown adipocyte, that is vase-like adipocyte, and that is because of the activation of PRDM16. So here there are some things, my publications and other things. Thank you very much. Now I'm open for the questions.
Have any question? No question is there. Thank you, Dr. Shailendra Pratap Singh.
Thank you, sir.
Now, we have 5 more papers to be presented here. Before going that, I hand over microphone to the organizing secretary. Please.
Good morning, everyone. Today, our special guest and keynote speaker, Professor Dr. Vidita Khandiwal, Madam, with us. Thank you, ma'am. Now, I would like to request Dr. Rakesh Vishwakarma, sir, the organizing secretary, to welcome our ma'am. So, please. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. Now, I would like to request Dr. Rakesh Bishakama, sir, to take over the further proceeding. Thank you. Have a great day.
Once again, very good morning, one and all present here. An eminent personality, Professor Dr. Vidita Khandelwal, Madam, is with us. There are so many things to say about ma'am, but we have a limited time, and I would like to highlight little on ma'am's work. So I would like to say that ma'am is a member of Government Council of Sikkim Manipal University. She is associate director of research and development of Sikkim Manipal University. She has presented a lot of papers in the field of medicine and health, and she has worked in basically in health and public health, and ma'am belongs from the general medicine. She completed MBBS, and she has experience in New Delhi and various health hospitals and agencies. So now I would like to request ma'am to say few words as well as present her keynotes to share few things about the health perspectives. Ma'am, please. Yeah.
Okay, so very good morning to one and all present here. Before I actually start with my talk, I would like to shower praise of appreciation for all our young delegates who've come from outside Sikkim. It's for me, it's a pleasure actually to talk to people who are not just purely medical doctors, because I've been in that field, and so I usually talk in that field only. Also, we felt a need that we should have a Department of Physical Education, and Dr. Rakesh Vishwakarma got back to me around a year back when we just spoke very casually about it, that yes, physical education needs to have a department of its own. We recognized him as a PhD supervisor because we saw that we had all that talent here which we could do. We also advertised our PhD seats, and shortly we'll be having our exams, so we'll also be starting PhD in sports medicine. So that is also a very big achievement for Sikkim Manipal University, because as you know, we want to do as much as possible in as many fields as possible, so that we can, it's, you know, knowledge is just about sharing, it's just about sharing. And in Sikkim, of course, sports has got quite a lot of value, it's a lot of importance is given by the government also. So we hope that this endeavor will also go a great way. Now coming to today's topic, when Dr. Rakesh actually approached me and asked me to speak in this conference, and when I saw the theme of the conference, I started wondering, what should I speak on? Health policies, the various policies which government has, something about physical education. Well, I'm not expert in any of those. So if you try to step into somebody else's shoes and try to show that you know it, it would be more like an artificial thing. So I thought, why not take up a topic which would be related to the theme, but would be my forte, something which I have experienced. During COVID, all of us, we learned many things, good, bad, ugly, everything. And what is important to know is COVID is not over yet. Please don't let your guards down. We don't know. Every day we have a new variant coming up. We've seen infrastructures like US, UK, China just break down under those. And a very important question which very often was asked, that if I am having COVID, should I exercise? If I had COVID, should I exercise? If yes, how much? How? When do I start? And we as doctors actually didn't have much to answer. The reason being evidence. You know how it works. You do a study, you try to find out the findings. It was a new disease for all of us. By the time you come up with your findings and try to publish it, and the journal will accept your publication after the review process, the revisions, everything, there's a media report which comes. So the media reports and the media evidence were coming much earlier than what evidence was actually coming from the scientific field. So with that in background, hoping that in next 30 minutes I'll be able to get your attention. Let us see what are the lessons we learned regarding physical activity, regarding exercise related to COVID. So I shall be covering my topic under the following headings. A brief overview of COVID-19, we all know about it, but we'll just briefly go through it. What is the role of exercise prior to COVID, during COVID, and in post-COVID? Mask, the mandate was always there. Please wear a mask, please wear a mask. So what is the role of mask while you are exercising? How do you monitor patients who exercise following COVID? And then we'll summarize. So as we all know, COVID is nothing but a viral illness. We had so many viral illnesses before, but nothing shook us the way COVID did. So COVID is an infectious disease which is caused by a coronavirus. This virus was also already there. SARS-CoV coronavirus was already there. This was the second one which came. And this is the WHO database, which is actually updated every Wednesday. So it was last updated on 21st of February. And if you see the number of confirmed deaths and the number of deaths, confirmed cases and deaths, you know how big the burden is. No state, no country, no continent was spared. So mortality was there everywhere. Morbidity is still continuing. New cases are still coming. And hence, it is very prudent to talk about COVID in relation to physical activity. Now, there were so many things which happened in order to avoid the transmission of this virus. Schools shut down, offices shut down, social distancing, no public gathering, and then the last and the final lockdown. But then the lockdown became synonymous with many other things. A very unhealthy lifestyle. Whole day you are at home, so you don't know what to do. So you eat even when you are not hungry. You are spending most of the time on the couch, either hooked to the TV or hooked to all the various gadgets which were there. I think the OTT platform, the Netflix, the Amazon, everything, they were the only ones who boomed during this period of lockdown because everybody was booked into it. And if you see the various areas which got affected, everything got affected in a bad manner. It was the healthcare, the agriculture, the travel, the tourism. For Sikkim, I know people who came to us later with depression. Their hotels were not they had no booking for almost 2 years. So everything was bad except for one thing, and that is, is there a pointer in this? Yeah. So there was only one thing which was good, and that was the environmental pollution. This was the only thing which was good about the whole lockdown, that the pollutions came down and the diseases related to pollution, like the chronic lung diseases, the tuberculosis came down at that time for a simple reason. Everybody was with a mask. People were not crowding much. So that was the only good thing. Otherwise, there was a whole lot of global effect. And to add to the global effect, there was a whole lot of effect on our physical health as well as our mental health. So if you see the physical health part, exercise has a lot of beneficial effects. So when you become physically inactive or sedentary, so these are what happens. Your diseases which are already there starts getting worsened, your cardiovascular risk increases, your normal physical capacity and functionality which you had, that also goes on decreasing. There is increased symptoms of mental distress, we'll come a little more on it there, and overall quality of life is also very bad. Coming to the mental, whole lot of studies were there. This was on college students done in France, and they saw that there was an increase in the suicidal thoughts, distress, high level of perceived stress, depression, as well as anxiety. So WHO, FIFA, everybody, they started saying that even while you are at home during COVID, though your lifestyle has become more of social isolation and home confinement, because you all recall, even when lockdown was called off, offices told the employees, please work from home. School said, do online classes. So they were still physically inactive. And what we saw is that during this period, the amount of decrease in physical activity was 33%, and to add to the fuel, 28% increase in the sitting time. So then it was said that because there are so many things which can be achieved by just 150 to 300 minutes of physical activity per week, we are, as medicine doctor, what I do, all my diabetic hypertensive patients, 30 minutes of brisk walk every day, at least for 5 days in a week. Now we stopped saying that 5 days in a week, because when you say 5 days in a week, they turn to 3 days. So we say do it 30 minutes of walk every day. So 2 days on their own they will not do. So at least they are doing 5 days a week. So with 150 minutes to 300 minutes of physical activity also, you have so many good things to happen. Increasing your immunity, decreasing your chances of getting heart attacks, decreasing your chances of all the non-communicable diseases like hypertension, diabetes, and overall your mental well-being. Your mental well-being also improves. So that is why during COVID, during lockdown also, everybody was advised. There were advisories given by WHO, by FIFA, by people like us who were seeing patients, that if you are not suffering from COVID at that time, you are just at home, at least continue to do small amount of exercise. It can be just going up and down the stairs, it can be dancing to a tune, not using your remote, but getting up and changing the channel on the TV, and simply gardening, walking, jogging if you have your own personal gardens there. So all that needs to be done. A very interesting, it is a repetition of what I said. Why I have kept this is, I find very few ladies here, but I'm sure the ladies who are here, they went through a tough time. Reason being, the child is at home 24/7, husband is at home 24/7, and the maids are missing. So there was another advisory given to all the men who were at home that please help the ladies in doing cleaning and laundering also. But then if you tell it that way, many would not like. Many of the husbands they helped. I am sure the ladies here would agree that they came to our rescue. But then if you tell them this is also an exercise for you, they took it much more sportingly. Okay, so we are exercising, we're not actually doing the household work. Before I go ahead from here, in this audience what we have, how many of you yourself or your family member had suffered from COVID? A raise of hand. A raise of hand. How many of you yourself suffered? I, my whole family. My husband got it first, then I got it, then my son got it. All three of us were there. Okay, so we have few who suffered. How many of you regularly do physical activity? It can be just be a morning walk. Okay, my hands are down, I don't do. Okay, so we have more number of people doing physical activity than the number of people who actually suffered, which is a very good thing. So now let's go ahead. Now people who were exercising, even before we knew that COVID was coming, what was the impact of this physically active people when they suffered from COVID? So let us start from there, then during COVID, and then we go to post-COVID. Now this is a study, a very nice study, which was done by Salisar et al. It was done in 48,440 adult patients. And what they saw is what is the effect of physical activity on the severity of the COVID symptoms. And they found that those who had been consistently inactive So somebody who had not done any type of exercise for 2 years prior to developing COVID, they had much more severe infection. They were more landing up into the ICU, and they were the more who died. They found out 3 strongest risk factor for mortality. The first one was the old age. The second was history of organ transplant. As you know, anybody who gets an organ transplant is on immunosuppressive drugs. So naturally, in them, the risk is again higher. And the third was physically inactivity. So just imagine, such a strong risk factor among the top 3 was physical inactivity. But they also found out something for people like me who don't regularly exercise, that even if you are not reaching the target of 150 minutes per week, but if you are doing some exercise, then also the severity of the COVID infection was lesser. So nothing is bad. See, if a patient says, no, madam, I cannot do 30 minutes. Okay, please do 15 minutes. Please do 20 minutes. Okay. And so that is how you do it. It is not that everybody needs to reach the target of 150 to 300, or you need to do a lot of aerobics. A brisk walking at your workplace also might be good enough. Okay. So what happened once this research came out? Prior to that also we were saying, but see, most of you must have suffered from some illness or the other and must have gone to the doctor. Few of you might be having parents who have diabetes, hypertension. So what we do very casually, we said, do you exercise? They say yes, and we stop there. We don't even ask them what they are exercising, how much they are exercising. But COVID taught us that you need to be very particular. You need to actually give it as a prescription that you need to exercise. Okay. So what impact it had was that the potential for habitual physical activity could lower the illness, and hence it started being promoted by the medical community and the public health agencies. And in the pandemic control recommendation, we don't know, this is not the last. I hope in our lifetime we don't see another pandemic, but for the young who are here, when you become grandparents, you never know, another pandemic might be on the way. So in pandemic recommendations of how to control, from now we need to encourage, we need to propagate, we need to inform everybody to do exercise. What about during COVID? When I am suffering from COVID already, I am having COVID at present, should I exercise or not? Now, going a little beyond COVID. COVID is a viral illness. See, all those of you have suffered or seen your parents suffer, you come with a running nose, a sore throat, a body ache. So that was happening since ages. And simply we would say flu ho gaya. So anybody would come, kya hua? Seasonal flu hai. Okay. So earlier, if anybody would ask, doctor, should I exercise when I have a viral illness? What would any doctor say? Well, listen to your body. If you feel you are fine, if you walk and you feel better with that, because it has been shown when you're having a stuffy nose, if you actually walk a little, you feel better. The noses clear up and you get a feeling of well-being. So that was the answer which anybody would have given, that if you think it is fine, please go ahead. But then when COVID came, we had to change our answers. Why we had to change? Another few slides. When the first wave got over and we saw that people had started recovering, though their symptoms of running nose, fever, everything subsided, it took them a lot of time to bounce back to their baseline, to come back where they were. Fatigue was there, easily getting tired, weak, becoming breathless on slight exertion. To add to it, it was also seen that there was increased incidence of cardiac arrhythmias. Arrhythmias means where the heart rate becomes abnormal. They don't go in the normal rhythm that it should go. And that was because there was inflammation of the myocardium. Now, again, myocarditis became famous during COVID, but any viral infection, I'll tell you, can give rise to viral myocarditis. Okay, so it is not peculiar for COVID-19. Any could have given. But then here it was a little more. And another thing was that sudden death. So people who were otherwise fit and healthy prior to COVID, who did not have very severe illness also, they were not even hospitalized. And previously they were absolutely fine. But now following COVID, they were developing arrhythmias, they were dying. Hence, the answer to the question, should I exercise, is you know your body the best. I as a doctor can ask you to do tests, I can write prescription, you know what your body is. Do your daily activities as you used to do. You never took the lift, you used to climb up the stairs. you used to bike, you used to walk up to your office, do that. If you're okay with it, you're comfortable with it, you're not feeling tired, you're not feeling breathless, go ahead. But if you think that no, you are not able to do it, don't push yourself. Let the viral illness recover completely and then restart slowly. So that is how we have changed our prescription. That is how the evidence has made us change our prescription. Otherwise, any symptom above the chest, you can keep exercising. Any symptom below the chest, don't exercise. What it means, if you have breathlessness, you have cough, you have chest congestion, don't exercise. But you just have a headache, you have a slight burning in the eyes, you have a running nose, you have a sore throat, exercise. That was the previous one, pre-COVID thing. Now comes a very important aspect. We really appreciate our children, our young people who got stuck into the house because of this COVID. And so both anxiety and depression were seen. It's known as a bad mind-body connect. And the exercise, what it does is, it releases endorphins, as you all know, which is a relaxing hormone, plus it relaxes your muscle. So it helps to break that nexus. And so exercise became important during COVID also, when you were already suffering from COVID, so that you don't get into this period of severe depression. Along with physical activity, see, we gave so much of importance to physical activity, we forgot that we need to build the emotional resilience also. The mental health also needs to be increased. And this was done through peer support, through family support. Electronic medias at this time, they actually act wonders. So many exercise programs were available in those electronic media. And what again we told our colleagues, our families, our friends, our patients, do an exercise which you find enjoyable. If you like to dance, you dance. If you like to play video games, which are active video games, you do that. So you need to do some such exercise which you enjoy and then share it with your peer group. Tell them, I did this and I'm feeling better. I did this, I didn't feel breathless. So that is how it works. So that was the second part of it. And now comes the most important part of it. I have had COVID. When can I start exercising again? Especially for people who are into hard exercises, athletes, competitive sports for them. And also for people who regularly jog or do brisk walking or do weightlifting. This is the most important part because the media was flooded with news like this. If you just had COVID, take it easy. If you had COVID, go slow. A lot of heart attacks being reported in young people. We had a 23-year-old girl who was dancing in a wedding party and she collapsed while dancing, everything on video, and hours later she dies. She had just recovered from COVID. We had superstars, Siddhant Suryavanshi, we had comedian Raju Srivastav, and we had our Puneet Rajkumar. All were working out at the gym. They collapsed at the gym, two of them died there only. Raju Srivastav, after many years in ventilator, went off. So what was happening? They were just in their, the girl was just 24, the others were in 40 to 50. They were physically fit. None of them had any addiction. They were not hypertensive, not diabetic, no risk factor. Only thing common was that they had COVID. That was the only thing. So it becomes important for us to realize one thing, that though it is the lung which is mainly affected, COVID also affects other organs. And heart is one of them. It can subsequently affect our blood vessels by causing thrombosis. It can affect our kidney. It can affect our brain. It can affect any amount of our organ. So it can be a multi-system involvement. Also, one line on this thing, you must have all heard of long COVID syndrome. So for 12 weeks, if the symptoms continue, and you cannot attribute that symptom to any other diagnosis. So that is known as a long COVID syndrome. So you're still running temperature, you're still having a cough, you're still having chest congestion. Please note, loss of taste, loss of smell. Some of you said you suffered from COVID. Did you have loss of taste and loss of smell? Yeah, most of us. I didn't have taste for almost, I think, 6 months. Till 6 months, I could hardly taste anything. And I would try bhujia, I would try pani puri, that someday it will come. And then finally it came. Of course, smell did not go much, but the taste had gone. So loss of taste and loss of smell are not taken as symptoms because we are not taking that as a bar to return to exercise. Okay? But all the other symptoms of COVID, If any of them continue for more than 12 weeks, it can be just fatigue, it can be just weakness, cognition loss, your memory is not as good as it was pre-COVID. All that comes into long COVID syndrome, and the break point is 12 weeks. Okay. How much also I try that doctor within me doesn't let me leave telling in between few things which are medically but I just hope I don't speak too much of medical. So I come back to what happens in COVID and when it is safe to return. So when you are answering this question, when is it safe to return to exercise post-COVID? There are two parts of the first question. When it is safe for the patient to return and when it is safe for the other person who will come in contact with this patient who's recovering. That is the first two aspects. There are certain other features which you need to take into account, especially for a person who's into athletic or competitive sports. And they are, what is the functional capability of the athlete? What was at baseline and what is now? Demands of that sport or occupation. Is he a first responder? Is he a rapid action force person? Is he a military personnel? How much he has to respond? So that has to be seen. And what are the legal and regulatory requirements? Even the sports authority, they have their own requirements that this is how you can come back into physical activity once you had COVID. Now, this was a pre-COVID term, no longer holds good. This is known as a tough athlete. What is a tough athlete? Even if he's down with viral fever, he would continue with his training. And if there was a team competition going on, he will participate. So viral illness was never given a leave for the athletes. Again, COVID changed it. COVID told us no. An athlete can be very tough in his body, very tough in the mind, but then you need to give him a little time to come back. And how does they come back? This again, you all are much more knowledgeable than me, but because the next two slides which are going to come are the main slides for the whole presentation, we'll spend a little time on that. But the prescription when you write for an exercise has to have the frequency, that is the number of days each week, the intensity, whether it should be low, moderate, or a higher degree, the time, how many minutes per session, and it's not just how many times per session exercise. In there, you also have to write how much of time of recovery you should get, what should be the rest time, and the type of exercise. Now, the dictum, when you see what is the format given for return to graded physical activity post-COVID, you will find out what I'm trying to say. When you start increasing, the first thing to increase is the frequency. So increase the frequency first, then the duration, and then the intensity. And each phase, you need to go gradually. Don't jump from one to the other. The dictum again is you need to wait at least for 7 days in one phase. Now this is slightly a busy slide. I have broken it into two, but a very important one. But somehow the pointer seems to have ditched me at this time only. So I don't know, do we have another pointer or can we just change the battery? So till when we are changing the battery, let us start, because if I don't show it to you, we start from the top that a person had a COVID infection, okay? Now, as per the CDC guidelines, those are also changing. Earlier, it was 14 days of quarantine. It became 7 days. Now, for us health personnel, it is only 3 days. Only 3 days you will take quarantine. If you are asymptomatic, if you are symptomatic, 7 days. So you do a quarantine and isolation as asked for. Now, if you are asymptomatic, please go to the last corner. If you are asymptomatic, so resume after 3 days of exercise abstinence. So 3 days you wait. After that, you start exercising again. Okay. If you are in the middle one, that is you have mild to moderate symptoms, but they are not related to heart or the lungs. No cardiopulmonary symptoms are there. In that case, also you will resume exercising as soon as the symptoms are gone. You have mild to moderate symptoms, so you wait for mild to moderate symptoms to reduce. I am repeating again, loss of taste and loss of... Okay, it's went back. So in the symptom resolution, can I have the glass of water? Yes. I'm also having a dry cough. Not COVID, I've been tested for COVID. Health personnel, as soon as we start sneezing or coughing, we are supposed to test ourselves. So we get ourselves tested almost every 4-5 months. Okay, so if we have a mild moderate symptom, again in this symptom, loss of taste, loss of smell is not there. So wait for the symptoms to resume, and then you go for graded return to physical exercise. Somebody had a infection which is around 3 months old, no ongoing cardiopulmonary symptom, come here. Now supposing when you are returning to exercise, during that time there are new cardiopulmonary symptoms, then you will join this group. So here what we have, those with cardiopulmonary symptoms, those who were hospitalized and had increased suspicion of cardiac involvement, especially myocarditis or arrhythmias, and this is post-acute sequelae complications of COVID. PSC is post-acute sequelae of COVID. So if any of these are there, then you cannot return to exercise without testing. And what are the tests? There's a triad of tests which are done, and it includes an ECG, it increases the cardiac troponin, which are the biomarkers, and an echocardiogram. And of course, a cardiac consultation is done. Once these are done, if it is normal, again return to physical activity. But if there are persistent symptoms or these are abnormal, you need to do a cardiac magnetic resonance imaging. Now, suddenly there was a craze for it. Anybody who was recovering from COVID, everybody was being advised a CMR. But that was also more of a commercialization of a particular investigation. It is not required actually. Now, when you do a CMR, if there is myocarditis, nothing doing, 3 to 6 months of exercise abstinence, only then the person can start again. But if there is no myocarditis, but any other abnormal findings are there, then there are certain other tests which are done. So this is how we decide who is returning to physical activity now, who is taking rest for some time, and who would come after 3 to 6 months. And once they come for physical activity, again, I will not go into the details and read the whole slide. What we are trying to show is that here what they have said is minimum of 7 days at each phase. Supposing you've come to phase 2 because you were comfortable in phase 1, but in phase 2 you develop symptoms, go back to phase 1. Be comfortable in a particular phase till you shift your patient to the next phase. So these are the two main dictums for it. And very gradually they have increased from phase 1 to phase 4. So if you see, they have defined the goal, they've defined what type of test exercises to be done. Also, of course, the rate of perceived exertion is a very important feature to know the fatigability, the tolerance, how the person is actually doing the exercise. So all that has been defined in it. This is by the American Medicine Society for Sports Medicine and American College of Cardiology. There were 2 recommendations given by both these societies, and that was made together and beautifully given in just these 2 slides. This is actually one chart. I divided it into 2 for easy understanding. Now, when you are doing all this, there's another one. This is also a very simple dictum which has been given for return to exercise. There are 2 parts of it. The first is training volume by workload, and second is the work rest ratio. So the training volume workload, the recommendation is 50, 30, 20, 10. And what does it mean? It is weekly reductions. Whatever was your baseline prior to COVID, how much of weight you were taking prior to COVID. In the first week, reduce it by 50%, second week by 30, next week 20, and that way you go on reducing. So it is the reduction of the exercise or this is mainly for the people who are doing weightlifting. So it was mainly in terms of the lifting volume and the workload. Along with this, what I was talking was the work rest ratio. So this was the second recommendation, that between the work, the rest cycles also should be enough. Adequate recovery should take place. This is also divided week-wise. So in the first week, they say the ratio should be 1:4. Now this 1:4 is 1 minute of exercise followed by 4 minutes of rest, or 1 set of exercise followed by 4 minutes of rest. It depends on the type of exercise. Again, in the next week, it will become 1:3, and second and third week go to 1:2. Similarly, 1:1. So this is another one, less complicated as compared to the first one, but the first one is much more detailed and much more explicit. It explains in a much better manner, especially for experts like you who are into physical education, to whom people will come expecting much more than what we speak. When we speak, we just say, okay, do this, don't do that. We don't write a prescription. So for you, I'm sure, please refer to that table which is there, and it is actually very good. And how do you monitor these people? When they are exercising, there are certain signs and symptoms If they come, they are known as red flag or warning symptoms. This is the time when they should stop exercising, take a medical advice. And what are those? So you watch for signs of potentially dangerous complications of COVID-19, like due to myocarditis or pulmonary embolism. We will tell you what it is, and regular assessment of how the athlete is responding to the increase. Again, very simple thing. And anybody from a young audience who's there, when you are training an athlete, there's something you need to do the next day morning just to see whether you are okay, how much you are doing is okay, or whether you should reduce the amount of training you are giving. Anybody? A young dynamic people sitting here? When you are training an athlete, if you've put him into a training program, so you've trained him today, again tomorrow morning he'll come to you for a training. There are certain things you'll see in him. So there are certain very simple things that you see. One is, of course, asking few complaints, and one is testing something, which will let you know whether you are overtraining him or you should go a little slow as an instructor. No, you will not give overtraining. For you, you thought this is the best for this particular person, okay? But my body might actually not find it so comfortable. For me, it might have been overstayed. So what is it in the morning which I may complain, or what will happen to me in the morning, next morning when I come to you? Okay. Okay. Yes. Fatigue level. Okay, very good. Muscle soreness, yes, sir. Okay. Yes, sir. So basically, with all together, it has come. For you, it was much more a specialized way of telling it, which again, as I said, is above my knowledge of understanding. But yes, he said he will categorize them, give them some point. But yes, fatigue, muscle soreness, could he sleep well or not? And of course, a very important thing is an increase in the morning resting heart rate. So the morning resting heart rate in the morning, and you can ask the athlete or the person to actually check it himself. These days everybody is with a smartwatch. You don't have to actually go on other times when you place your finger and check your pulse rate. So that can be checked by any of them. So going back one slide, the red flag symptoms or the warning signs that I was talking about. If a person who's recovered from COVID, while exercising, all while recovery from exercise, please note, it is not only during exercise, even when he is resting from after the exercise, if any of these are seen, that is chest pain or palpitation, breathlessness out of proportion to that expected during recovery, and findings of like swelling of the leg, increase in the heart rate, dyspnea at rest when he's also resting, this is the time when it is an alarm for you that no, something is wrong, or the patient who's doing it on his own also in a gym, that he should go ahead and meet a doctor. And of course, this we already said, fatigue, quality of sleep, muscle soreness, psychological stress, and of course the morning resting heart rate. The last few slides, should you wear a mask while you are exercising? Again, a show of hand. Outdoor, supposing COVID was still on, and you're doing outdoor exercise. No mask. No way you can put mask while you are exercising. Okay. Yes, sir.
Secondly, you will be your
okay.
For these two reasons, it's better to be in a quick place where you will contribute other activities.
So has made my work easier. Anybody else wants to add something to it? Okay. So we will first see what happens when indoor. As you know, most of the gyms had closed down, but then subsequently they opened up and then they made a limit that only so many number of people can come. So inside the gym, these are all from WHO. These are not my guidelines. After we show what WHO said, I will show you what evidence showed. Now, what WHO said, go to uncrowded gyms with good ventilation, maintain a distance of at least 1 meter. You wash your hands and also remember to disinfect the whatever you're holding, the rails you're holding or the whatever, the dumbbells or whatever you're holding, remember that. And the second was for outside. Now, WHO had said that during rigorous physical activity, wearing a mask, one is you will not be able to breathe properly, and most of the masks, when they become wet, they lose their protective effect. So naturally, because of the sweat, it becomes. So again, they said that outside when you are doing, maintain a distance of at least 1 meter. When I was preparing for this topic, as I told you, I don't read these much, but when I was preparing for this topic, there's a good study which they did is that if you are running, you are on the front, the person who's trailing you, actually he's the one who's at risk. He's the one who's at risk. You are not at risk because there's nobody in front of you. So when you are running also. So maintain a distance of 1 meter from the person who's in front of you. You need not worry about the one who's at back. What did the study say? I fully agree with you, sir, and even my mind says that if I wear a mask, I will become very breathless if I am working. But this study says differently. This was a crossover randomized controlled trial. 14 participants, 7 men, 7 women. They gave surgical mask, cloth mask, and no mask. And they asked them to do the bicycle ergometry till exhaustion. That was the end point, till they become exhausted. And what they observed was that wearing of face mask had no effect on performance or peak power. No significant differences were found for arterial oxygen saturation, tissue oxygenation index, rate of perceived exertion, or heart rate at any time during the exercise test. But there was a major limitation of this study. One is, this is too less, 14 participants if you see. It was too less, first thing. All these were post-COVID. Second, you see, they're all young people, 28.2 plus minus 8.7. Okay, that was the second. So though authors concluded that wearing mask had no discernible detrimental effect, they added in young healthy participants. Now, how many you have of these young healthy participants? The real life scenario was that it was more of the middle age and the elderly people who were developing COVID. Yeah, and these were the people who were also dying. So, though this study came out, the mask mandate was kept. It is that even okay, don't wear a mask, maintain that distance. They also added something that if you are into any of these sports, that is wrestling, boxing, or mixed martial art, in those cases, don't wear a mask. And the reason was not for breathlessness. They said because when you are wearing a mask, there might be some disturbance with your vision. So that is why don't wear a mask, because of the fogging or anything. So don't wear a mask during that. Why I am telling this is many a times what comes in evidence is not the true picture. And especially this evidence, though it was a study done and it came out, and nobody else again tried to do it. But this study did not have any power, but just a very small no power of the, yeah. Nothing, 14 and 7. And again, the author in his year says that, see, he had 7 in one group. So how many he gave surgical mask, how many he gave cloth mask, how many he gave. So though this came, it was not here. So the dictum is very rightly as told by one of our experts, no mask, just remember, in this whole crowd, I see only one person with a mask. Maybe he himself is having cold and cough, so he's protecting us, not protecting others. See, that is also a good way to do it. He doesn't want to infect others who are here, because presently everybody is running cold and cough. Everybody is sneezing. So he's doing that to protect, you're protecting us, right? Thank you so much. The last part of it, after vaccination, if I have received my vaccine today, again, all of us have been vaccinated, even the precautionary dose, third dose have been taken by us. Many of us developed slight fever. So do you need to stop exercising? Well, no. After vaccination, there is no such guideline. The athletes can continue with their normal exercise. You can continue with your normal walk, jog, whatever you are doing, continue. So following vaccination, you don't have to do anything else. Gen Z, this is how you call yourself, right? You're Gen Z or millennial. Where are you? I think you're in the millennial. So we know the generations which are there and the strides which has taken place in the advancement in all these social media network. Why is it here? It doesn't seem to be related to ma'am's topic. Why suddenly this has come? It has come because COVID was the time when the most number of misinformation, it was called an infodemic, misinformation. Every Tom, Dick, and Harry was talking about how to cure COVID, what you should do, what you should not do. Vaccine, don't take vaccine. That is a very bad thing to take. And the WHO came up with this initiative, Stop the Spread. And the Stop the Spread was not only for the virus, it was to stop the spread of misinformation. So I sincerely believe that conferences like this, and when organizers choose topics which are ranging from, I was seeing the scientific academic feast which has been laid down for all of you, ranging from where to where. So everything has been covered, whatever we can think of for physical education. So the idea is just this, that we also need to be very, very careful. And you just cannot say, hey, why are you referring to Google? It's not like that. Anybody will refer to Google first before they come to you. So you need to give them evidence, and you need to combat that myth, whatever is there in Google. So Dr. Google will always be much, much above than any of us. So you need to see how you will tackle that. So ladies and gentlemen, to summarize my talk, physical activity is a strategy of therapeutic action and not an unstructured suggestion. This is what we doctors are doing. Exercise kariye. We don't even wait next sentence to ask, aap kya exercise karte hain? I have a patient, I have many patients of diabetes. My specialization is in diabetes. Do you exercise? Yes. What do you do? Adhi ghanta yoga karte hain. I said, very good. Walking? Walking nahi karte. So see, yoga is also helping in reducing the mental stress. There are certain asanas which are also almost equal to aerobic. But then if he is just sitting and doing breathing exercises, that is not enough for my control of blood sugar. So it has to be a structured prescription, and we need to write it, and in every visit we need to reinforce. Are you doing it? If not, why? Maybe he's not enjoying it. You've told him to walk, he doesn't even like to walk. He prefers doing something else. Ask him, what would you like to do? And then advise him to do that. Yeah. Okay. Sir? Yes, sir. And time will change, sir. I'll tell you. I became a medicine specialist. Now it is almost 25th year running when I completed my MD medicine. Any patient would come and we would know that this patient is stressed, is anxious, is feeling low. We would also not refer to a psychiatrist. When we started thinking of referring to psychiatrists, the patient would not want to go. Because for them, psychiatry means, मैं पागल हूँ क्या? आप ही बता दो. Even till date, I asked my psychiatrist colleagues to come to my chamber and counsel a patient. We just opposite. Medicine OPD is this side and psychiatry is that side. But the patient is not willing to go there. But in last 10 years, if you see, people themselves come and say, no, I think I need psychiatry help. And same is going to happen with sports medicine, sir. I can bet it. This is the time. And as you said, awareness of not only patient, it is awareness of the physicians, it is awareness of the doctors. Yeah, that we need to send. Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
So walking will it, but problem is that how will he walk? Why will he walk? After having what he will work. After return, you
what will happen?
Nothing you mentioned.
Nothing.
Those humans from
yeah.
physician.
Yeah.
So that's why you don't have time. Moreover,
we don't have the awareness and we don't have the facility, sir. Today, if in
yeah. You need to recommend the right person.
But in Sikkim, we have no sports medicine specialist, so that is the next step. We need to have sports medicine specialists, and I'm sure Dr. Rakesh and his team, with his department coming up, we are going to offer bachelor programs, we are going to offer PhDs there. That time will come. Also, what is important to know is that our understanding and evidence regarding COVID and everything related to COVID is evolving. What I am speaking today might not hold good after another 2 or 3 months. So please keep yourself updated. Please keep attending conferences where they talk of these things. And in your own field, keep looking for new literature, what is coming. Also, myths, fake news, and conspiracy theories are so much plenty. Till now, diabetes at the top. Myths regarding diabetes tops the list. Now, COVID has overtaken it. Now it is COVID. So, COVID, the amount of misinformation which is there. So, please be yourself aware and make your surroundings aware of the right thing. And important is to maintain a regularly active lifestyle so that you prevent all other chronic diseases also. Forget about the COVID. So with that, I thank you for your patient listening. If there's any other questions, not even question, your own experience, you want to add something that this is what happened to a patient who had COVID. Yes, sir, please. Anybody? I would love to hear from you all.
Professor Accommodation Research, Biochemistry and Molecular Biology, National University of Bangladesh, and yes, thank you, and congratulations to Madam for your wonderful presentation. I think that many of us are not different discipline, sports science related persons more here, but your nice presentation and easy way of presentation, simple way, it makes us, all of us, easy understanding. And we know many things about this actually. And the problem is that we don't like to follow. Of course, all of things, many of us know it. And another thing, actually, I feel, because I work as a chairman in physical education and sports science, and in Bangladesh, and this subject is almost neglected. But as a biochemist and nutritionist also, I think that the importance of this subject is very demandable. This is the present world, the present situation, we need this one, because in the developed country, the slogan is exercise is a medicine. But when I go to doctor with my relatives, when they are suffering, I myself also a diabetic patient. But no doctors actually prescribe about exercise or like this. And this is the good problem to our country. So thus, recently, orthopedic doctors are prescribing some physiotherapy like this, but other medicinal doctors, they never. This is the major roadblock to success, I think, to burden, medicinal burden. So thank you again for your nice presentation, and I think many of us will be benefited from this presentation. Thank you very much.
That was wonderful presentation.
Thank you, ma'am.
And myself, Dr. Shanti, working as the Director of Physical Education at the Tamil Nadu Veterinary and Animal Sciences University. And my question is, this COVID-19 autoimmune disease, one question. Second one, strengthen body immune system. So just recommended exercises, walking, this, that, and based on the type of diseases and the recovery time, you have to assess. And apart from this exercises, you have also suggested vaccination and other criteria which plays close to COVID-19 and like to know.
Okay, yeah. So first, as ma'am rightly pointed out, it is, I'll just correct you a little, it's not an autoimmune disease, but when the virus attacks us, there is the autoimmunity, transient autoimmunity which comes up. So because most of the autoimmune diseases are lifelong, you need to control it, that it's not like that. Here, only for a time being, a transient antigenicity is there, and there's an autoimmune phenomena. Again, it will not happen in all. You must have heard of people developing post-COVID syndrome, multi-organ dysfunctions. They are the ones who go into the your autoimmune phase, or that is the complication which occurs with few of them. Regarding the prevention or immunity, how we can develop, of course, vaccine and physical exercise is there. Two more important things are, one is the diet, and diet again there is no foreign diet. Though Patanjali made fortune by selling all the aloe vera and I don't know what all juices were there, and I will not blame them. Even I had it. I made my whole family had it. Everybody was having kadha and everything. But a healthy, nutritious diet, that is one, and the psychology, madam, very important. We've always downplayed the psychological aspect in our immunity. If you think, again, I will not say if you think positive, because at COVID talking positive was even bad, but if you keep yourself upbeat, if you are in a good frame of mind, your body immunity also works accordingly. Of the drugs, so many came into the market, so many went out of the market. Presently, now we are left with hardly anything for COVID. So we don't have any such drugs to prevent COVID. And this is true. At least in modern medicine, what I practice, we do not have any drugs to prevent medicine. So to increase your immunity, you need to be physically active. You need to take all the vaccines which have been prescribed for you. Even sometimes I feel very sad when, in spite of telling my patients repeatedly that you need to take the precautionary dose, they have not still taken. When they come again after 2 months for the checkup, they haven't taken. So that awareness is required. And our mental health. We need to be very upbeat here in order to stay healthy. I hope, ma'am, I have answered your question.
And one question from online participants.
Yeah.
Dr. Amit SJ, please unmute yourself and ask your question, please. And please switch on your video also.
Good morning to everyone.
Good morning, sir.
I'm okay. Am I audible?
Yeah, yes, sir. Loud and clear.
Okay. During COVID condition, can suppress injuries promote bone metabolism and joint taking?
Sorry, I didn't get. Did you get the question? Sorry, can you repeat, sir? I didn't get your question.
Post-COVID condition.
Yes, sir.
In that condition, can bone metabolism and joint ache conditions are promoted?
Yes, sir. It is actually. It has been seen, and it is both. One is the physical inactivity itself increases or brings a relapse of the various joint-related diseases. And second, the COVID, especially when it goes into the multi-organ dysfunction variety, the post-COVID complication which we were having, in those cases also, there is an increase and return of the joint aches. Regarding increase in the bone metabolism, I do not recall or I am not aware of any research which has been done which has proved it. If you are aware of it or anybody in the audience is aware of it, they can let us know.
Ma'am, can I enlighten you about it?
Sorry, sir?
Can I enlighten about it, about bone metabolism?
Well, surely, sir, surely. We would love to hear from you.
Okay, actually, one of my client was suffering from COVID condition, and during the COVID phase, he went on gaining weight, and after that, he wanted to lose weight. And when I prescribed him with the diet and exercise, he was getting the benefit through it, but he started getting the injuries which were suppressed, like during his sports time. So because of that, I felt his bone density has become low, and because of that, the bone metabolism has been increased. This was the phenomena during the outcome of that this study, which I was in future I will be producing this paper on it. So this was the result of it. So I got to know about that.
Okay. Nice to hear that, sir. So, bone metabolism you had assessed by?
Sir, I'm still I'm not clear about it for that sec.
Okay.
I have read from literature only.
Okay. Fine. It is possible, but bone metabolism, if it has increased, naturally we'll have to have some proof of it in terms of either imaging or in terms of turnover, the various biomarkers which we have. So I wish you all the best, and we look forward to your whenever you publish this study, please share it with Dr. Rakesh so that we also get to see what it is.
Those details you'll be getting through blood test only.
Okay, for bone metabolism, so you'll be doing the blood test only.
Yes.
Any imaging uptake studies or anything you'll do to see for increased bone metabolism?
No, not yet. I'm unclear about it till now.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Patients will be exposed to the sun and they can take the supplements of vitamin D. And that's maintained.
Okay, so if there are no other questions, so
I think,
thank you very
there
much.
is no question for this session. Ma'am, thank you for your wonderful talk on physical activity and exercise, lessons learned from COVID pandemic. Now, I would like to announce it is time for the lunch break, and we will back here at 2 p.m. and we will start the session. Thank you very much. Thank you. छोड़ दो लंच करेंगे
No, I was trying to understand the business because I last 2 years I made it a habit to write all my questions and prescription regarding the diet advice. But it's not in that fit. Not that. I was actually because of my smoking only.